In a shocking move, WVU is losing one of their best players. Let's go. What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Jordan Cruz back here with the Country Roads Webcast. And before we get into this video, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder. If you would, give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, that helps us here on YouTube. And if you would, please hit that subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation. With that being said, let's get into it. We all know this offseason WVU has suffered a lot of attrition via the transfer portal, and unfortunately that trend continued today as Akheem Mesidor announced that he will be entering the transfer portal in a surprising move to everyone, including the WVU coaching staff. I know that a lot of these moves we've talked about have been a little bit of surprise, but this one is a huge shocker. One of the best players on the team, you could argue maybe even the best, and this one I think no one saw coming. Absolute shocker. And make no means about it, this one's a huge blow for West Virginia. The one thing that's come out of it, though, is that a lot of West Virginia fans have wanted Neal Brown to come out and comment about some of these transfers. And today you got just that. Neal Brown was not scheduled to speak, came out and spoke for a little less than 10 minutes, and his main subject was transfers, and specifically the transfer of Akheem Mesidor. And some of his comments were very enlightening about, I think, why some of these transfers are happening. You know, we've discussed tampering. I've also discussed that I think that some of these players maybe were more or less not asked to leave, but maybe saying somewhere else would be a better fit, because you want to get guys that fit the culture, and we've talked about that before. Building the culture is really important, and I think Neal Brown's really been trying to do that with this team. But this loss was definitely shocking, and it doesn't fit that category. I think, in my opinion, this one definitely fits more along the lines of tampering. And a lot of these losses, by West Virginia could fall into that category, in my opinion. And I think Neal Brown's comments kind of speak to that if you read in between the lines. But let's just take a look at some of Neal Brown's comments here, just in case you guys haven't seen them. Neal Brown says, "Some of our cases, it was the best interest of both parties. In some of our other cases, I preferred for them to stay, but really understood their reasoning. Most of the time, you really sensed them coming." And then he followed that up by saying, "Not this one," when talking about Akheem Mesidor's transfer. Brown followed that up with a statement that I think a lot of West Virginia Mountaineer fans can agree with, that they feel hurt by this move. Brown says, "I love Akheem Mesidor. I love the kid, and so I'm not angry about it. I'm not upset. The best emotion that I would use," and these are probably words that football coaches aren't supposed to use, but that would be hurt or maybe even just sad. "And I would say personally, I hurt because of the investment, and more so because of the relationship." Neal Brown followed that up by saying he felt bad for the defensive line room and the coaching staff there, because he felt that was one of the closest position groups on the team. And then this here is where Neal Brown kind of, if you read in between the lines, is talking a little bit about tampering and a little bit about some of these decisions that the other players have made. And I think using Akheem Mesidor, this kind of speaks true for some of the other players that have transferred this year and the previous season from West Virginia once this transfer portal started, and especially once this NIL came about last July. In many ways, I hurt for Akheem too, because I don't think he's making a good long-term decision. In today's college football world, these men are surrounded by so much noise and pulling them so many different directions that it's hard to decipher right and wrong sometimes. There are things that are going on in our profession that are not good and that shouldn't be out there, but they are. There you go, right there. The last couple sentences there, tampering. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, in black and white, coming out of the coach's mouth, he's all but said tampering without saying tampering. And when it comes to this one, and how shocked he is, I mean, what else can you point to? And you know me, I'm a guy that always tries to look for a silver lining. Don't really have one in this situation. West Virginia's left really thin at the nose position now. Eddie V still out for the spring. He's probably going to factor in there, and Jordan Jefferson, of course. But I definitely think that West Virginia is going to be looking for a defensive lineman with one of those 5 remaining scholarships via the transfer portal here following spring, and look to add one of those in the summer and the fall. However, looking at a silver lining, I think it is Neal Brown coming out and making these statements. And it really makes me respect Coach Brown a lot more, because he came out with this because he knew that this move was going to send shockwaves to the fan base, and some of the transfers already have. And I think this was his way of coming out and addressing that, and addressing this one, which also just goes to show how big of a loss this is for West Virginia, for the head coach to want to come out and speak about it. I think that I echo Coach Brown's feelings in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to the tampering and what this NIL and transfer portal is doing with college football. And as a fan, it's really hurting the game for us as fans, I think, as a West Virginia football fan, especially it is, because is it going to get to the point where all of our good players that have good seasons, they'll have a good season here or two, and then a blue blood's going to come, with NIL offers, not even just that, but offering them, hey, you'll get better exposure here, you got a better chance to get drafted here, things like that. It's going to really be detrimental for West Virginia. That's what it's looking like, and it's very scary right now as a Mountaineer fan on this wild, wild west of college football that is formed. And I think that that's the thing that's going on throughout the fan base. So I appreciate Neal Brown coming out and saying things and making these statements. But I also really appreciate Neal Brown kind of stabilizing the fan base with some of his statements, especially the way that he ended his press conference. And Mountaineer fans, I know this loss hurts, but you're going to like what Neal Brown says here. Listen to this. Coach Brown says, "I'm not upset, I'm not angry, but I sit here more resolute, more confident, and more committed in my beliefs in how to run a program than I've ever been. I believe in pouring into the student athletes. I believe in going all in. I believe in building an infrastructure and surrounding them with support staff that pours into them and serves them to create a culture of accountability." He goes on, "Here's the thing. There's going to be some days that are going to be tough, like the last day and a half, where you lose some guys that you really, really invested in. But I believe if you do it that way, there's going to be a lot more success stories than there are ones that are going away. And I believe that in every ounce of my being. This is important too, like I want our fans to understand too. I believe in the young men of our program. We've had 5 practices here. It's the most excitement we've had. It's the most competitiveness we've had. My staff and I are really excited about these guys and the work that they've put in over the last 8 weeks over winter and the last 2 weeks of spring ball. We're off to a great start in the 23 recruiting class. I feel very confident that we're going to have some good news here in the weeks to come. I feel very confident that the 2023 class will be the best one that we've signed here. When I say this, the best is yet to come, and I believe that." And here's the part that I really love. I know some people, put this up on Twitter, this quote, and I think it's great. I saved a couple pictures of it, that people had posted. But this quote right here is awesome from Neal Brown. He said, "The last thing I kind of want to leave with is this. In 154 days, we're going to line up at Heinz Field and play, and we're going to go out there with a damn good football team. We're going to go out there with a group of guys that believe and are committed to this university and to this state, and they're going to play their ass off for the name on the front and not the name on the back." And with that, he left. No questions. Mic drop from Neal Brown, I'd say right there. But I love the way he's feeling about this team and about this program moving forward. And I think that's a powerful statement that he made in regards to the transfer. And to me, the one thing that sticks out is the tampering. And I think this NIL and transfer portal is scary for West Virginia right now, because you don't want to get to a place where Blue Bloods are just picking off your players. And that's kind of where it seems to be heading for me, unless the NCAA comes in. And we need some kind of regulation from the NCAA with this NIL and transfer portal. That's what I believe, and that's what I believe would really help teams like West Virginia that aren't a blue blood, that teams are going to try and poach and get their guys from. But something has to be done from the NCAA. That's my thoughts. But what are your guys? What are your guys' thoughts on the transfer portal, tampering, NIL, all of this mess? And more importantly, what's your thoughts on the loss of Akheem Mesidor and how West Virginia replaces him? I know it's a tough loss, but however you're feeling, let us know in the comments. We really appreciate that. That helps us here on YouTube as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads Webcast. And one more time, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, helps us, helps you, helps get this Mountaineer football content out to more Mountaineer Nation. With that being said, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers. I don't want to see you fail.